How's it going, nerds? I'm Wes.
It's Sup Nerds!
What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
So this game really does teach so fast because you start off by drafting 7 cards back and forth, or in a 2-player game it's back and forth. In a bigger player game it goes around this way and then it goes around this way and then it goes around. Anyway, so you draft these cards. And then for each of the cards, you decide, am I going to attempt to build this card or am I going to ditch it for the resources? Because there's the build cost on the top left, there's the recycle it for resources on the bottom right, and the production at the bottom is once you've built it, you put it onto your Empire card into the stack of during the production phase. That's what you produce. And that's basically the entire game, is you are trying to collect resources to build cards, to increase your production, to build more cards, and most of the cards have some kind of point on them or some way that they can get you points.
Right. It's an engine building game, but it's a very simple engine building game. The cleverness comes in with the idea that you will produce resources in a very specific way. So basically, you're going to produce all of your cards that produce the gray, whatever that is, steel, whatever. All of your cards that produce the steel, right, you are going to gain that and you're going to put that on other cards that are not yet built yet, which very well may complete a card. Okay, if I put this on a card that now completes the card, I can then put that card into my production area and that card produces black. Well, hey, the next thing we're going to produce is black, which means that card is now usable. Mm-hmm. So it's that specific timing in the game that works, that makes it much more strategic than you would think. Because actually, I was saying this would be a good game to teach to newer players because you can play it somewhat mindlessly and still have still have a small engine go and still have some cards pop off, right? Like as long as they get a couple really easy ones built, right, and they're getting just a bunch of resources, they can just throw tons of resources in all these cards, and then, oh wait, look, this one's built. Oh wait, look, this one's built,
Yeah, and it is interesting because there's no, storing resources. Once you make that resource, you have to play it immediately, and you either play it onto a building that's in production, or if you put it onto your Empire card, every 5 of any resource there becomes one of the red resources, which is the wild. There is no production for that resource. You can only get it through either banking 5 of any resource that turns into that, or some cards, when you build them, it gives you an instant of some of those. But some of the really complicated cards require one of those to build them. But because of that, there's no, I'm just going to bank all these and store up to get that card later. You can put resources on a card that doesn't score until a later round, but you have to do something with every resource when you get it.
There are also these tokens, these red and blue tokens that you'll get throughout the game that are each worth a point, but some cards can make them be worth more points. Most of the points you get are from those tokens, from cards that multiply other things, like either those tokens or other cards, right?
Yeah.
Or the cards themselves just have points on them straight up. So again, it's like you said, the teach is so easy. It's so simple. And actually, I did kind of gloss over those tokens that I was talking about, the red and the blue ones. You will actually get them for if you produce the most of a certain resource. When you go to resolve the production, who produces the most of this gray stuff? Okay, cool. You get a blue token. Whatever. So, again, there's not that much to consider point-wise. It's just... Yeah. It's only because, so many cards require so many resources, right, that you need to produce so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you want to build as many as possible, and the better buildings take 8 resources to complete, so you need to get a bunch to complete them. But you could also probably play a fairly solid game by just building some of the medium-sized ones, because a lot of the really small, it's kind of like Splendor, and that the really cheap cards only have production on them. So, it's good to build some of those cheap cards early in the game just so that you can get your production up, but they're not going to score you any points. So if you just focus on those small cards, you're not going to be competitive when it comes to points. But if you get a key number of those early on, you're going to be able to build a lot of the higher scoring cards a lot easier as the game progresses.
So if you've been watching our channel for a while, you might know that drafting games is one of my favorite mechanics. It's deck building and worker placement and drafting are all kind of up there, all sharing the number one spot. I also engine building is also up there too. Like area control actually is slowly becoming a bit lower. It's something I care about a little bit less. So this game was already like, you know, like the pitch for this game already got me interested, right? You know, it's like drafting, you have my interest. Engine building, you have my attention. Oh, that did not work out. I said that so slow. So I'm already like poised to already like this game. But even without that, yes, it scratches my itch. But it also scratches the itch of anybody who just likes a really like, it feels like just putting a bunch of gum in your mouth. And you're just like chewing it. And you're like, yeah, yes, so much good. You know what I mean? But it's all a bunch of the same. It's a lot of the same, but it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's all like the classics of drafting. Like, you want to focus on yourself, but because the draft is all like public knowledge, like you all draft a card, then turn it face up, and then keep going. So you can do some hate drafting of like, oh, he's going for blues. I'm going to get this. Because even if like I get a card just to recycle it later to get rid of it, like I'm getting something for it, even if it's just to go towards a red cube. But I'm also taking it away from you. Like,
yeah, and also, if I flip up a card, you don't know if I'm going to build that or not. So you have to assume I'm going to try and build it. So you're like, oh, he's going for that. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I don't know if I'm going to build it or not.
I know, right?
I also really like, you can play an easier game where you have just, like, symmetric starting resources. But the advanced side of the card gives you all asymmetric starting production. So you're all kind of producing something slightly differently. But it also gives you a unique scoring condition. And it's all based on multipliers of like 1 point for every one of these red supremacy tokens, or 3 points for every blue card, or 2 points for every green card. So it kind of like steers you in the right direction to get you started, to where I would almost recommend starting with those, because then if it's like, hey, if you don't know what to do, like, okay, your thing gets you points for green cards. So just try to build some green cards, get your engine going a little more, and then let your strategy develop from there.
I could understand people not liking this game because they think it's like there's just not enough difference. I don't know, like, because you're right, it's so simple. There's no new mechanic. There aren't even a lot of mechanics, and there aren't even a lot of different ways to score. I think my gum analogy was pretty perfect, because it's a lot of something you like, but it's not the same as like eating a meal where you have, you know, potatoes and broccoli and ribs, you know, where you get all this different flavors, but it's just, I don't know why I keep trying to make this analogy work.
I almost think in an era of games being so much of like blending mechanics, like it's a drafting worker placement dungeon crawler. Like, it's kind of nice to get such a clean, refined, just drafting. It kind of takes you back to, it's just a drafting game. It's got a cool mechanic in the production because it goes in order, so you can kind of be strategic about which card you want to build first, because if I can build this one now, it could maybe get me production later on. Like, it's just good.
I think the word you used is really good, that clean. It feels very clean, and it feels like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And if any of what we were talking about, or raving about really, in this video sounds interesting to you, we're going to put a purchase link to this game in the description box down below. Go ahead and get yourself a copy.
Also, if you're seeing this awesome game topper that we're playing on, and you're like, man, my gaming table just is not measuring up anymore, you can go ahead and get one of these awesome toppers to upgrade your whole gaming experience and have like a playmat and these ledges and cool little grooves to put it on, and you can have the same table that Neverboard Gaming plays games on.
Not like this one, but like the same type. Anyways, subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
Today we are playing That was lame.